Hey friends, welcome to day 3 of the stitch along. Today we are going to start working on text, and this week is mostly filled with text, even though we'll change things up a little bit towards the end of the week. But text will take a while because I also want you to just take your time on it. It's the centerpiece, the center focus of the piece. And so you want it to look good. You don't want, it to look a little funky because you'll be staring at it and it'll be driving you crazy. So take your time on it. If for some reason you don't finish today on the text that we've set aside for today, work on it this weekend. That's no big deal. But for today, we're going to work on for to us, A is born. We're going to leave the cursive for another day and then this other section for another day. So you need to grab 535. You now need, you can put your tapestry needle away for the remainder of the project. You won't need it anymore. You're going to grab your embroidery needle and you'll still need scissors, of course. So let's get started. Okay, so go ahead and grab an arm's length of your gray floss that we're using for the text, and then we're going to actually split this into 3 strands. What you're going to do is just flatten the tip of it, and you'll notice that there's about 6 strands there. Not about, there are 6 strands there, and you're going to just split it right in half so that you have 3 in one hand and 3 in the other, and then you're going to slowly pull apart. Everyone's kind of got their own version of how they like to hold this, so it doesn't get all twisted, because if you move too fast, it gets pretty twisted. But if you just move slowly enough and pull the 2 apart, it will be fine. So you're going to put the 3 strands, one of the 3 strands aside. We'll use that later. And then with your other 3 strand, you're going to go ahead and tie a knot at the bottom. Cut off your excess. Just a little. You don't want to get too close to that knot because then it'll make the knot weak. And then we're going to thread our needle. Now, because this is only 3 strands, it should be a lot easier for you to thread your needle. But if you have a hard time, there are a few different needle threaders out there, or even wax you can use. There's like a type of wax you can use. You can use spit. That's honestly my favorite method. Just lick it and it works just fine. All right, so we're going to be doing a back stitch for all of our straight text, and then later we'll use a different stitch for our cursive text. So I'm going to zoom in and show you. So the way I like to stitch letters is I like to move just as if I'm writing the text left to right, but I try to always start my stitches at the bottom, because that way if you're starting at the bottom pulling up, it's always going to be pulling your thread in the same direction. If you try to come up here and start at the bottom of the F and come up and then you stitch the rest of the F, then with the R you come down, it will make it just slightly uneven. Not a lot, just slightly. Those things bother me a little bit. So my preference is always to start at the bottom of the letter and move up when possible. Sometimes you can't really do that. Like with this C down here, you're obviously going to be starting at the top of that. Yeah, so we're going to be doing a back stitch. Start right here at the bottom of my letter. You take your time. And you're going to go, sorry, my voice sounds funny. You're going to go 1 stitch length forward. Now, a stitch length for you might be a little different than a stitch length for someone else. For this F here, I'm probably going to try and get about 3 stitches in. So I need to visually look and say, okay, about how much do I need to go up so that I can do 3 stitches up. So I'm going to go kind of right about to that line where the F is, or the horizontal line is on the F. And if you notice that your floss, you probably can't tell in this video, but if your floss looks like it's twisted a little, you can use your needle to pull it up just a tad and then pull it back down. Oh, voice. Okay, hold on. Okay, let's try not to lose your voice while recording all these videos, Sarah. Okay, so now I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to come up a little bit more on the line and I'm going to work my way back. Get it? Back stitch. And I'm going to go in that exact same hole that I previously made, that I came down for up here. Okay, I'm going to do it again. And go down that same hole. Okay, now I'm going to go over, and this will probably only fit about 2 stitch lengths. You don't want your stitches to be too small that you're making too much work for yourself, and you don't want them to be so big that they end up looking a little loose. So I think 3 for going up this way is a good number. Okay, now I need to do this last little line. So I'm just going to come down right here, and I'm just going to do 1 stitch right there. If I can get right in the spot I want to get in. It's like a game of whack-a-mole. Okay. In this situation, there is kind of a dip where this first stitch went up and the second stitch came down. You can try and make it in that hole. I'm going to kind of slide under it just a little, just to make sure I don't have any gaps between my letters. Okay, so that's our letter F. Now, for every letter that has a straight line element to it, you know, the F, the straight line, and the R, the T, I'm going to try and always keep the same number of stitches as far as 3 up, just to try and keep some uniformity. The R, obviously you can't do that. It's rounded. It's going to be a little bit different, but I do try to keep the same number of stitches when possible. Now for the O, it's kind of like you're making a straight line. Hold on, I can't zoom out, or I need to zoom out. A straight line, words are failing me today, a sideways line, and then you're going back up. So you obviously can't make a perfect curve with nothing but straight lines, but it's going to give the illusion of a curve if you follow, you know, the same pattern. Let me try and get, ooh, this is what I can do. Okay, I kind of want to show y'all visually what I mean by that without using my fingers, because that doesn't work as well. Okay, so this might not be the same number of stitches, and honestly all the stitches would be connected, but I want to kind of show you the sense that it's going to be a straight line, side, straight, straight, side, straight, side, straight, straight, side. And that's what, if you keep kind of this pattern, it's going to help keep the roundness of the O. I think it took me a really long time to really figure out how to stitch round letters, because I wasn't keeping a pattern in my head. And so to kind of make a pattern for yourself makes it a lot easier. So obviously, when you look at this O, the bottom doesn't look flat. So you kind of have to make it look flat for your purposes. And of course, you also kind of want to make it a bit of a mirror image, in the sense that whatever I'm going to do here on the left side, I want to try and copy it coming back down on the right, as far as making the stitches hit in the same spot. So I did that straight line, and do the sideways line. Ah, see, this is what happens when you have dry fingers. You pull your floss out, and then you have to rethread your needle. I notice that happens a lot with me, because my fingers are dry, and the little dry spots like catch on my needle or my thread. Okay, again, going down that same hole because we don't want to leave any gaps. Okay, now we're going to do a straight line. I think I'm just going to do one straight one right here. So I have one straight bottom, one sideways. I'm going to do one straight line on the side, and then I'll do a curved, or not curved, but a sideways line. I don't know why I am struggling with that word, like what the actual correct word would be. Slanted. There you go, slanted line. Okay, so do another slanted one right here. And it's not a huge slant. It's not probably quite as dramatic as what the little image I showed you is, but it's just enough to help create that curve. Okay, so now I'm wanting to mirror what's already happening. So I want to try and start the stitch up here about the same spot where I started it down here. So, you know, right about there. And it can sometimes be hard to see gray on gray. So if you need to kind of get your phone light, some other source of light to kind of help you see where you're stitching, then do that. And once I finish this O, I will show you what you need to do if something messes up and you need to take out a stitch. If you make a stitch and you go, oh, I don't like how that looks, and you need to redo it. Because that's fine and that's good. If you can tell, if you continue going the direction you're going, that your letter is not going to look good, fix it before it's too late. Or not necessarily too late, but you're so far gone into it that you're like, oh, please don't make me have to take out 15 different stitches just to get back to where I was starting at. Okay, so now I'm coming up, because I've got to close, I've got to come up in the same hole right here. Okay, so that's your O. So now I'm going to show you, and I am keeping, you know how with the clouds, once I finished a cloud, I would cut my floss and then move on to the next cloud. With these, I am just dragging. I'm dragging from the F to the O after I finish it. Now, you can, once you get to you finish the 4, you can tie it off and cut and then go to the 2 if you want. If you want a really clean back, I won't do it, but I will cut off after A and before I come down here for is born. And if I was going in, normally if I was doing this not in a stitch along, I would just move straight from for to us a child is born, but I would never move from A straight to child. I would tie off from there and then start again here. Okay, so let me show you what you need to do if you need to take out a stitch. So say here, I'll make it really messy for you. You come up down here, you're not paying attention, and you go right here. And you're like, oh, whoops, that's not where I want to go. Take your needle off your floss, use the back end, it's a little bit better than the sharp end, pull it out. And if this isn't in the right spot, because sometimes you might have put this in the right spot, but you just maybe went too high, then you could just rethread your needle and start again. But in this instance, I put it in the wrong spot to start with, so I need to turn my piece over and find that stitch and pull that out. And then you just thread your needle and go again. Okay. And sometimes when you do that a few times, the end of your thread does become a little wonky, like this side of it. So you might have to cut it just a little bit in order to thread the floss. So I'm going to go 3 stitches up. And it's not going to be exactly perfect, like exactly even with the F, because the gray is a little hard to see. But since you know that you're doing 3 stitches, you'll know how to make that relatively even throughout. And the curve in the R is kind of similar to with the O, so find your pattern and just follow that. I'm doing a little bit, this R is a little bit different than some other R's where it might be a straight line and then a little straight here and going down. This one kind of drops off pretty quickly, so I already have a little bit of a slanted line here. Half circles are a little easier than a full circle. I'm still slanted. And then my next stitch will probably be a straight line. They're all straight lines, but you get what I'm saying. It's going to be a vertical line and not a slanted line. Now with this little leg on the R, I am going to start, sorry, my math got ahead of my hands. I am going to start at the bottom of it. And if you look, I don't know how well you trace, but if you look at a picture of it, it is a little bit of a curve. And the reason I'm starting at the end of this rather than starting where it connects is because the same concept of wanting to be able to pull up versus pulling it down. And this probably, try and decide right now if I want to try and do attempt 3 or do 2, and I think I'm going to do 3 to make sure I keep the curve look and don't end up making it too straight. Okay, so that is 4. So the rest of this I'm going to speed up. I probably am only going to finish to us A in this video, and then I'll finish the rest off camera. But from here on out, it'll be fast forward, and then I'll talk maybe just a little bit at the end to wrap things up. Okay, so that's all I'm going to show you for now. finish up with Is Born and you'll be done for today. And a quick note, when I was done with For To Us A, I had about this much, probably about 12 inches left of the 3-strand floss. Save that, tie it off, and start again with Is Born using this. You might not get through the whole text, but at least you'll be using the most of your thread. And then once you finish that, you'll have your other 3-strand that you had put aside whenever you split your floss to start with. So just make the most of your thread. I don't think you should not run out of any thread if you got full skeins of everything. Nothing is like running super close other than the clouds. But other than that, best of luck. Show me your progress in the Facebook group, and I can't wait to see what y'all have done.